Good morning, everyone. My name is Professor Delonix, and I'm out here bright and early for Adventure Week Takeover. During this event, Team Go Rocket will be taking over Pokemon Go. So it will be a great opportunity to improve in many aspects of the game. This is one of my favorite events because Team Rocket is everywhere. So you don't have to come out at a specific time. You just work it out and you spend as much time as you want to. Another reason why it's one of my favorite events is because it's a great way to get great Pokemon for player versus environment features like raids, Team Go Rocket, and the upcoming Dynamax. Before I dive into what I'll be looking for in my grand adventure today, let me discuss some strategies that I'll be using while I go through battles. The ethos of my strategy is to be as fast as possible. And even if that means taking more damage, the whole point of my strategy is to get through the rocket encounter as fast as possible. So here you see I'm taking a ton of damage from Stantler, but that's okay because I know I've got enough energy stacked up that I can just quickly tap that down and save the energy for the next two. So I can actually quickly get through these encounters. Shiny check. Not this time. The best way to speed up battles against Grunts is to focus on fast move damage. So Pokemon that have really strong fast moves like Kartana, or Pokemon with access to moves like Fire Fang, and many Shadow Pokemon are really good at just focusing on fast move damage to get through the battle really fast. As you saw in this battle, and every battle that I'll go through today, I start the battle with my buddy that I'm building up hearts with, and then I immediately switch into my actual true counter. What this does is it starts the cooldown. The ground type Grunt is actually one of the best Grunts in the game. It can reward either Drillbur or Rhyhorn, and even as a second rare encounter with Vibrava, which is the pre-evolution of Flygon. Flygon can be a spicy pick when going to use as a ground type. For water type Grunt, we're going to be looking for Omanyte. This can be shiny. And for Pokemon focus, I'll be looking to get Totodile. So either Totodile or Omanyte. Let's see if this is shiny after I chop it down with Kartana. As I mentioned earlier, I'll be using Kartana in a lot of my battles because it has the fast move Razor Leaf, which is one of the highest damaging fast moves, and also has a really high attack and access to a pretty spammy move. So Kartana is my favorite Pokemon to use against Team Go Rocket. I should say Team Go Rocket Grunts, because against leaders, that's a whole different animal. Not shiny. Usually these events are a great time to stack your Team Go Rocket special research to save for the best Shadow Legendaries, like the soon to becoming Rayquaza. To do that, simply just keep your research on the first page. You just immediately minimize the task and forget about it until the Team Go Rocket Legendary that you want comes around. And then, when it actually does come around, you can complete all the research tasks at once. Unfortunately, none of these poison types can be shiny or very useful in PvE. So unfortunately, this is just for the decks. I usually stack my research, as you can see by my two Super Rocket Radars that I already have. I wonder if that encounter with Giovanni at the end of the GoFest 2024 research will count towards the encounter I need to have with Giovanni for Adventure Week Taking Over. My hope is that I will be able to stack the Super Rocket Radar from Adventure Week Taking Over without having to encounter Cresselia by battling the Giovanni in my research. So we'll see if that counts for this research. Cresselia is a great Pokemon for Go Battle League, but its Shadow version is not significantly different than the version I already have. For the normal type Grunt, like this one, Teddiursa and Stantler both can be shiny. So let's try this shiny check. In this battle against normal type Grunts, I'll be using Shadow Machamp. He has a nice quick move counter, and he also has a spammy charge move if I need it. But usually I'm just trying to get through with just a quick move and use one charge move to finish off the last boss. No shiny, not even a shiny chance. Recent chatter in some of the more unseemly parts of the Pokemon Go community has suggested there's a new supposed 160 Grunt encounter limit, where on your 161st Team Go Rocket encounter, you're presented with a ban. So that's a big reason why I'm out so early this morning, is because I want to test this assertion. Now, I don't have all day to play Pokemon Go, but I plan on dedicating a lot of time today to trying to see if it is reasonable to get to this 160 limit, even on days where there's a rocket takeover. This water type Grunt, the male one, always rewards Magikarp. And Magikarp evolves into one of my favorite Pokemon, Gyarados. Shadow Gyarados is one of the best water type attackers in the game too. And it also happens to be a really easy grunt. Real quick, before I start my takedown of Team Go Rocket's takeover of Pokemon Go, let me quickly go over my stats so that we can check them at the end of the video. All right, we'll see what the results are later. For the electric type grunt, Magnemite can be the shiny. This is a Blitzel, so it can't be shiny, but I'll keep my eye out for Magnemite. Unfortunately, this grass type grunt, while it's easy, I'm getting it done really quick, there's no shiny and really no good Pokemon for player versus environment aspects like raids and Team Go Rocket. It's great for Go Battle League though. Pokemon we're looking for Ice-type grunts is Swinub. Swinub evolves into Mamoswine, and Mamoswine is one of the best Ice-type and Ground-type attackers in the whole game. So definitely try to get as many Ice-type grunts as you can. The Flying-type grunt can reward Starly, like for this encounter, which, believe it or not, is actually, when evolved into Staraptor, is one of the top 4 or 5 Flying-type attackers in the whole game. So watch out for it. Also, it's a cheap 1,000 Stardust Purification Pokemon, so good to stock those up too for those purified Pokemon tasks. Battling the Fighting type grunt, we hope to get encounters with either Machop or Timber or his evolution Girder. All of these Pokemon, all those Pokemon are elite fighting type attackers. And fighting type just happens to be the most useful type in taking on Team Go Rocket. Hopefully this Timber's good. I'm sure most of you have heard the rule that you should never purify your shadow Pokemon, save for a few exceptions. I have a fun video I'll get to eventually that dives into this debate, but for now, the short answer is don't purify. Fire type grunt is great for a guaranteed encounter with either Cyndaquil or Darumaka. Both are elite fire type attackers. And actually fire type is one of the few types, fire and flying, that can solo some raid bosses like Cortana, which is so great for battling against Team Go Rocket. This Ghost type grunt has a possible shiny reward. If you get Sableye as the second Pokemon they use, you can get shiny Sableye as the encounter. Oh, like this. Let's see if I get shiny Sableye. Shiny! Not shiny. But hey, it's still Sableye. For this bug type grunt, we want either Scyther or Anorith. Anorith is can be the second one. and Scyther is a rare one of the first encounters. Scyther can be shiny and so can Anorith, but Scyther is also a good player versus environment Pokemon for raids and battling Team Go Rocket. Eventually, Shadow Scizor will be one of the top counters for Hoopa whenever that comes back. This flying type grunt can reward shiny Gligar, but it's a rare encounter. It's only the second Pokemon that the grunt uses, and those are very rare. Mine is Pidgey. That's useful in a different way. You can stack up Pidgey, Shadow Pidgey, for cheap 1000 Stardust purifications. This fairy type grunt has Mawile as a possible encounter. And Mawile can be shiny. So keep your eye out for fairy type grunts with Mawile. For the electric type grunts, in addition to being shiny, Magnemite is also one of the best electric type attackers in the game. This dragon type grunt can be an encounter with either Dratini or Gible. If it were Dratini, I would have been able to get a shiny encounter, but I'll take the Gible. That's what I prefer. Just completing the second step of the new special research, and I got an encounter with Omnimite. Nothing special. These decoy grunts are some of the most useful grunts in the whole game. They reward Bellsprout, and Bellsprout can be shiny, and it also evolves into Victory Bell, which is very good, Shadow Victory Bell, which is very good in Go Battle League, and as a poison type attacker. Now, we need to find Cliff, Arlo, and Sierra for this research. My focus will be on Sierra today because I'm looking for an awesome Shadow Sharpedo. But I also want to get this research done, so we got to keep an eye out for all three. Taking a quick pit stop in this one little patch of shade that I found on the trail to take on this trifecta of Team Go Rocket encounters. The first one I'm going through here is a fighting type encounter. Oh, it's Timber. Encounter with Timber. See if it's any good later. This next encounter is with Sierra. Sierra is going to be my focus of the leaders this season. Sierra rewards Carvana, which can evolve into Sharpedo, and Shadow Sharpedo is great against Team Go Rocket, and it's also great in Go Battle League. I recommend using a fairy type against Sierra to deal with all the dark types that she'll be using. My plan is to use a Gardevoir with Icy Wind as its charge move. My second Pokemon will always be one of the two generalists for all of the leaders, which will be either Lucario or Mewtwo. Shadow Gardevoir made that look easy. Here we go. Let's see if I get a shiny Carvana on my first try. No, just a regular one. Good enough for me though. Last thing I'm going to do here is check this Giovanni. Is it a Grunt or is it Giovanni? It's actually a Giovanni. I'm going to save that for later. The time is now 12:10. I've been out playing the Team Rocket Takeover for 5 hours, and now I'm about to call it a lunch break and stop for the hottest part of the day and go hang out with my family, and then come back out and see how much I can do later tonight. But before I leave, let's see how many shadow Pokemon I've caught so far today. In 5 hours, I've caught 66 shadow Pokemon. I've got to up my pace if I hope to make that 160. It is now 7:10, and I'm heading back out to see how many Team Go Rocket Grunts I can take on now. My plan is to take a trip down and walk through some trails in the Audubon Center, and then take a trip down to my local Walmart, and then drive back down through town and just try to maximize the daylight that I have left. And really, I don't want to stop until I get to at least 160 Team Go Rocket encounters. So let's see how I do. Well, I just arrived here at the Audubon Center. I'm going to make my way down a couple of these trails and see how much I can get done while I do that. Should be able to get a lot done. You see, there's a fair amount of gems here. Not a lot, but a good amount. All right, we're in range of this Grunt. Let's see what it is. Bug type Grunt. This can be shiny. Dwebble. Not the best encounter, but hey, if you didn't have one for Go Battle League, this is the best encounter. When you take on Arlo, take into consideration that the most common weakness among Arlo's Pokemon is Rock type, with 3 of the 7 being weak to Rock. Another avenue you can try is to use a Fire type, since 2 of his stronger Pokemon are weak to Fire and another resists Fire. Best practices is probably to use a mix of the 2, so your team is prepared for any of the makeups that Arlo has. I'll be using a Shadow Rhyperior and a Shadow Moltres to get me through this battle. Well, that was much more difficult than I thought it would be. I've got to refine my Arlo team a little bit, clearly. But let's see if I can get a shiny Anorith here. Shiny Anorith? No. No shiny. Luckily enough, I've got a cliff balloon here, so I can't think of a more scenic or beautiful place to encounter cliff. But before I do, let me give you some tips real quick. 5 of Cliff's 7 Pokemon are weak to ice. So strongly consider using a Pokemon with a strong ice type fast move. I'll be using Weavile with Ice Shard and Avalanche as the charge move. And as backup, if I need it, I'll have a Machamp to take on that Tyranitar. All right, wish me luck. Here it goes. Shiny, oh, I got some extra shiny luck. Shiny Lilip, no. Before the sun sets on me, there's one more thing I wanted to record today. Whether that Giovanni encounter from the 2024 GoFest research would count towards the special research that we just got today. And since I just battled Cliff, I now have access to find the Team Go Rocket boss, battle the Team Go Rocket boss, and defeat the Team Go Rocket boss. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to see how many of these find, battle, or defeat the Team Go Rocket boss tasks the 2024 research completes. So I got 3 Dialga candy, 3 Palkia candy, and an encounter with Giovanni, I believe. Here it is. Now I don't know what teams he uses here, but like I mentioned in a previous section, Mewtwo and Lucario really can do a lot just by themselves. And we know he's gonna lead with Persian, and we know he's gonna have a legendary at the end, so let's just go 2 Mewtwo's. Can't go wrong with that. Force Palm is great for Persian here. And just don't forget to get your free moves in every time. That waterfall won't count. And his last Pokemon is Regigigas, that's right. I forgot about that. Oops. Yeah, somebody's driving down the road. I thought I was on a deserted road. Let's see how Shadow Regigigas, 944. I don't know what that equates to. Let's see. It is an extra large. That is pretty not very good. That's cool though. Still nice to have. All right, cool. So it did. It counted for all of my Adventure Week taken over special research. Finding, battling, and defeating. So that's nice. I don't have to worry about going to find a Cresselia because I don't really need one like I mentioned earlier. And an encounter with Aerodactyl. Let's complete the research since I can and I'm here. Ta-da! Complete. All right, off to Walmart and then at least 60 more encounters. See if I can do it. I tried to record the results of my grind last night, but I ran out of storage and I ran out of daylight. We learned that any encounter that you have with Giovanni, whether that comes from in the wild or a balloon or even through special research, will count to complete all 3 steps of the Find Giovanni, Battle Giovanni, and Defeat Giovanni tasks. Another thing we were able to learn about during my grind was the new supposed 160 grunt limit. From my experience, I think that limit, even if it was true, which apparently a lot of other content creators like Zoe Two Dots in Australia have already kind of debunked this claim. And I've always contended that there's probably other metrics going on, that Niantic's not just looking at how many interactions you have with grunts, but they're looking at how many Pokestops you spun, how many Pokemon you caught, you know, how are you playing the game while you interact with those grunts. And I think that's what we're finding out, is that there is no hard grunt limit. There's no limit. It's just don't cheat. Don't abuse the game and the game won't kick you out. So just to talk about my experience explicitly, I played yesterday from 7 a.m. to 12 p.m., so 5 hours in the morning, and then I came back out at 7, a little after 7, and I played as late as I could till about 10:30. So that means if you add it all together, it's about 8.5 hours. And then some of that time I spent recording and doing other things and driving. But even if we take a really conservative estimate, I spent 7 hours playing. And in those 7 hours, I was only able to get 136 Team Go Rocket battles. To me, that implies that the only way to get to this 160 threshold is to be chauffeured around or to drive really recklessly and play at the same time. But even still, I'm not even sure you could drive in Babson Park where I played and get to 160, because even last night when I was driving around, I had periods where I had defeated all the grunts in my entire area, and I have 50 stops to play with. So how's that going to work for players who don't have as many stops and things in their neighborhood as I do? And even still, I played 7 hours with all these resources and was able to get 136. To me, that says that really this only applies for players who are driving while they play. And that is a significant part of the player base, but we also have to be mindful. That indicates that it's probably not really a concern for normal players. We also have to be mindful that you just can't walk and get 160 grunts done. It's just impossible. Let's look at what I got in my grind yesterday. I collected 135 shadow Pokemon, and of those 135, 15 were cheap purification Pokemon, so only take 1,000 Stardust to purify. 44 of those were possibly good PvE Pokemon, like for raids or battling against Team Rocket. 24 of those encounters were shiny eligible. So only 24 out of 136 encounters were shiny eligible. And lastly, only 14 of my 136 catches were good IVs. But of those 14 that I caught this awesome Nundo Shadow Timber. That's easily the rarest Pokemon I caught all day yesterday. Other than that, another of my favorite catches from yesterday was this, what I just say is a 90% Starvia. It's really just high attack and high defense and not losing out much on the HP. And then similarly, I caught a really high IV Swinub. So I think I'm gonna probably make that into a Mammal Swine at some point. And then I caught this awesome Darumaka too. So I'm probably this is my best Darumaka, and I'll probably end up powering that up too. I don't know really how to think about the rewards. Part of me wants to say that I feel like I didn't get a whole lot for all that I did out there yesterday. But then I look back and I say, well, I did get 14 useful IVs, 14 Pokemon with useful IVs. And I even caught a Nundo. And for these Team Go Rocket Takeover events, it's always about what your goals are for the day. What did you want to accomplish? And for me, I did what I wanted to accomplish. I wanted to test whether the special research Giovanni would count. And I also wanted to try to get to 160 encounters and experience what that is even like. And so those were my main goals today, and just to go out and have fun and just explore the game. So I accomplished that. Before I go, let's do a recap of the stats that I gained yesterday. Starting with Stardust, I now have 2,813,822 Stardust. I've walked 10,176 kilometers, and I've caught 320,062 Pokemon. I've visited 184,781 Pokestops for a total of 517,126,245 XP. Well, until next time, watch another one of my videos over here, and I will get to that Professor's Practice Shorts really soon. Bye.